everyone. This is William Del Pilar, and welcome to Fired Up, your source for Thursday night conservative talk. And let's get right into it. Why can't the Republican Party connect with young voters? And what's driving this generation further away? Exploding costs, maybe, stagnant wages, maybe, and the promises of the American dream out of reach? Well, Gen Z and millennials are increasingly drawn to alternative voices and radical solutions. From activist campaigns to university admissions to the role of foreign competition in the workplace, we will expose the underlying currents changing young voters. And we'll chart where the true opportunity might be reclaimed, if it can be. But before we begin, do not forget to click the thumbs up and like while you listen. Then make sure you bookmark grumblingsmedia.com. Follow us on your favorite platform like YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, Pandora under the handle Grumblings Media. And with that out of the way, let's get right down to it. But with getting down to it, that means I have to introduce our panel. And we'll start off, ladies, first with beautiful Miss Annette Ross.
Good evening, William. We need to get you a hairdresser.
My wife is a hairdresser. You know what happens is my hair gets a little bit long. I want to grow it long, but okay. I got what they colics, whatever it is, where your hair
middle stage, yeah,
where it twists certain ways. So I got nappy hair. My mother, her hair got nappier. She got older, and I'm noticing that with my own hair. Oh well, it is what it is. Let us bring in the G-Man.
Hey guys.
G sporting a nice beard there. You know, I haven't watched a Hindu movie in a while there, but those Indians over there grow these big old nice thick beards there. The Persians, I guess, the whole Middle East, they grow some great beards over there.
Yeah, getting down to like here, but I'm not gonna do that.
And they can sculpt it, you know. With us, we just get the Duck Dynasty, like that raggedy ass look, you know. So let's get to it. Before we get into the main topic, which is affordability and why we can't get the youth vote. It broke today. I want to say I saw it on Politico. I can't remember. But the federal housing chief is referring Eric Swalwell, better known as Fang Fang, better known as Gas Man, for DOJ mortgage fraud probe. Federal housing officials are cranking up the heat on him. And now it's not just talk, people. It's a full-blown criminal referral. So who is this individual? He's Bill Pulte. He's the guy who tracked down Letitia James and was looking at her house, and the neighbors were antagonizing them. Who's this white guy here looking at my friend's house? You know? But he is the Trump-appointed head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and he referred Swalwell to the Justice Department for investigation into alleged mortgage and tax fraud related to a Washington, D.C. home. Guys, real quick before I get into some specific questions, your thoughts. And also, it seems like mortgage fraud seems to be one of these common things with these politicians. Annette, what's your initial thought?
Well, my initial thought is he didn't deny it, did he? He just said, Trump's out to get me. But he never said, he didn't deny the actual charges. So I thought that was really interesting. That was my initial thought.
That's a good point. What about you, G?
Yeah, I mean, I believe he said that his home is in Washington, D.C., but he's a California congressman. So I think you have to have your primary residence in California, right? So
I think there's a paper trail for this, right, G? There's got to be a paper trail if it's something with.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, I have a deeper thought, but just that's my initial thought is just how many other people are getting away with this?
Well, the charge is
live in the district.
Well, you know, that's not necessarily true for everything. So that's a great question. But because I know, for example, my district is Carpet Baggersville. You know, Isa ended up buying a home in Bonita so he could run here after they changed, you know, because he was 49th was his district. And Carl DeMaio carpet bagged his way into the district as well. And Amar Campa Najar, he moved to Alpine. That's where he lived at, but he was always moving, depending on what girlfriend he had at the time. They busted him in National City, and then dating that congresswoman or senator or whatever. So the guy's a player, a good-looking guy. Maybe that's why. But my point is the only guy who was in the carpetbagger in my district was Brian Jones, who came in fourth. You know? It's like the guy who lives in the district, they didn't even want him. But so I don't know, G, but that's a good question. I would sit there and say they don't have to because, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And we should know that actually. But they're looking into possible mortgage tax and insurance fraud. Again, it's misleading statements. We're talking millions of dollars in loans and refinancing, and they're all tied to where Swalwell claims his primary residence is. He's not alone, people. He is the fourth big name Democrat targeted like this. Letitia James, Adam Schiff, and Lisa Cook. All three of them for mortgage fraud. What's so ironic is every Tom, Dick, and Harry is like a realtor that I know, and nobody here's a realtor. But I would love to ask them, why is it always mortgage fraud? And it kind of aligns now with what CNN. Remember, CNN was trying to cover for Lisa Cook, or they all do that. Well, it looks like they all do that, but it's still illegal. Now, as Annette says, Swalwell says, "Come on, quote, come on, this is classic political payback," unquote. I got to be honest, people. In full transparency, I think it is, but I think they committed the crime and Trump is going after them. They are seeking retribution, but they're doing it legally, And this is, remember, Annette, about a month ago, I talked about being a bully?
Yeah.
A bunch of bully. This is what I'm talking about. To me, this is the type of action. If one of these 3 or 4 go to jail, this is the type of action. Next go around, we're going to get Trump. You better be right, or you're going to go to jail because somebody else will come back and get you. What I'm saying, we have a new breed of politicians coming in. We're seeing it with the Democrats, the ode for the socialist mean Democrats coming in. We have our own bench as well. Marco Rubio will take a scalp. I have no doubt in my mind. He's part of the establishment, I still believe, and is out for himself, but he's tired of this. So I think this is good. If Swalwell did it, convict him. So your thoughts on what I said in terms of this is how you have to deal with this type of stuff. I mean, what I'm trying to say is I'm okay. If he's going after him for political retribution, I'm okay if he's got the justified legal evidence. If he's fabricating stuff, then they're no better than the left.
Correct.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think these people, meaning Swalwell, how do you say his name? Swalwell? I feel like it's a hard name to say.
Just say Fang Jr.
Yeah, they're brazen. It wouldn't surprise me at all because there's so many political favors that get done. And then somehow there's never any consequences for it or any sort of action taken to hold people accountable, which is shocking. But I see political favors happening all of the time. And isn't it interesting that he's supposed to be announcing his run for governor? I heard that.
Swalwell?
Yes. Look online. Saw that.
No. That right now the Democrats don't have a big name running.
Yeah, well, I saw that today that he's going to be announcing.
Katie Porter is the only one running.
Well, I saw he's going to be announcing his run within a week.
Oh, actually,
over Katie.
Yeah, but that's a great move. Oh, gee, real quick. Real quick, Annette. I think that's a brilliant move by Swalwell. It's an empty field right now. Why not? He's he immediately becomes a front runner. Just people don't realize name recognition is everything. In many ways. Gee, your thought on Swalwell possibly running, and your thought on it doesn't matter if Trump is getting political payback if the legal evidence is there. Do you think it's justified or not?
Well, as far as him running, anything better than Katie Porter. I'm just making sure I don't have anyone behind me so I can cuss at them. But going back to whether this is political retribution, okay, so we've all been pulled over by a cop, right? And I know the 3 of us were very respectful to the police officer and just say, yes, sir, no, sir, I was not speeding, sir. And then maybe it gets us off with a warning or whatnot. But we've all seen the example of a guy who gives lip to the cop and the cop goes, oh, you don't want to play ball. Okay, well, let me check your tire tread, right? Oh, your tire tread. You got one headlight out and you don't have a license plate in the front. So now I'm going to write you 4 tickets because you couldn't play ball and be nice with me, right? And so this is basically what that is. I'm sure it's not just Democratic congressmen and women. I'm sure they're Republicans and just even private individuals out there who've gotten mortgages saying this is my primary residence. And you get a little bit of a interest rate break by having it as your primary residence. You have a higher interest rate for vacation and rental properties. So I'm sure there's millions of people out there, but we don't go after them and prosecute them. But if you're going to give lip to the president, if you actually actively went after him and impeached him, and during his 2023 trial, we're saying stuff about him, well, of course he's going to come back after you and say, look, your tire is looking a little bald and you got a headlight out. And by the way, you don't have a license plate in the front of your car. So I'm going to write you a ticket for all of those. So that's how I view it. And yeah, Swalwell will probably be found guilty, like you said. And that said, he didn't deny it. And he's just trying to make it say, well, it doesn't matter. This is just the president. I mean, it's the same thing. Hillary Clinton saying this is the vast right-wing conspiracy. And we all saw, wait a minute, no, what Bill did was true.
Right.
He was very guilty.
Okay, so, but is this going to solve, if somebody goes to jail here out of these four, and statistically speaking, if they've got the goods on somebody, odds are they may, because they tend to be, these are in
Is that jail time? Is that a jail time?
Well, that's what I'm saying. And because they're in liberal outlets, the courts, they may not get jail time, but statistically, somebody should get a jail time out of this. Do you think that will deter Democrats down the road, or do you think they just lost it so badly that they don't care that if they can destroy you illegally through falsified evidence, like they did try to do with Trump, that they're going to try it anyway? What do you think?
They're totally out of touch. I totally William. They're in their own. They're completely. I'm going to give an example when I'm excited about the next segment, but I think they're totally out of touch. I think they're totally brazen. I think they're completely unashamed.
So you think they're going to keep on doing it?
Absolutely.
What about you, G-Man?
Yeah, I mean, they're doubling down with all the rhetoric, the socialist rhetoric, the Trump had something to do with the Epstein Island rhetoric. I mean, they're just going balls to the walls right now. So,
it's so
not
true.
just does Swalwell deserve to go to jail? No, I don't think this is a jail time prosecutable offense.
Yeah,
it will just be a fine, right? I don't think we throw people in jail for mortgage fraud. I mean, when all you did was pay a little lower interest rate.
Yeah, it was like misleading.
They tried to do that to Trump in New York, But you're right. You're right. We'll find out soon enough. It depends how many charges, because some of these charges bring up to 10 years. And then there's also Bolton. The three out of these four, they're mortgage fraud, but Bolton's the one who's likely to do jail time, and maybe he's the one they make an example out of. And you guys,
I mean, as far as mortgage fraud, you're going to turn them into a martyr, right? Then it's going to be, Trump is just throwing his.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't.
No, it absolutely will be. The Democrats will say, Trump's throwing us Democrats in jail like a third world dictator. I see the rhetoric a year ahead.
Oh no, they can say that, but it'll fall flat. There's certain fights you can't win because you look the hypocrite. And that Trump political persecution has made any claim they have, the political persecution, literally pointless. But you're right. They do it literally everything else, and they will try this, which brings us up to Epstein. It wasn't in our notes, wasn't in the outline. I don't want to spend a lot of time. They spent 5 minutes, 4 minutes. Yeah.
We got it.
And I just want your comment on it was MAGA who kept Epstein alive. I think it was a lot of clickbaiters, a lot of money. It's easy to stand on your soapbox. As I said before, Epstein has jumped the shark. The Epstein files are in the same place as I always say JFK's brain is. Who knows? And I'm not exaggerating, people. For y'all out there who don't know, JFK's brain is missing. Been missing for over 40 years now. The latest incident was the Epstein's estate was subpoenaed for all their records. They sent him like 30,000 emails or something, some ton of emails. And the Democrats love this. So what the Democrats want to do is slow walk it and leak them out. But I guess the Republicans just flooded and sent them all out. But to go with the net in the sense that they're willing to lie, cheat, and steal on everything, and you don't believe me, people? Well, listen to this. They sent out that one email, y'all know what I'm talking about, where it's Epstein's talking about Trump and saying that he would spend a lot of time with her. It was redacted. They wouldn't say the victim.
Yes,
and,
yes, yes.
and they said that to imply, well, this is a victim in Trump. Oh, 1 and 1 equals 2 here. Well, the Democrats, this is why social media has changed the game. What the Democrats didn't count on is social media immediately community noting them and go, the Epstein estate sent that email unredacted. The person's name is Virginia Giuffre or
The one
Giuffre.
who's dead. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
the one who's dead. The one, and I hate to say it because she's dead, rest in peace.
Prince
But she
Andrew,
was
yes.
destroyed for literally lying about Dershowitz and other things. And if you research this yourself, people, you will find a transcript of her asking, is there anything else? And the legal team going, yeah, what about Alan Dershowitz? Don't forget him. You probably talked to him too. He's a dirtbag. He's this, he's that. And eventually she had to recant that. She destroyed her credibility as a witness. And she also said, yeah, I spoke for Trump for quite a while, and he never hit on me to the extent. So this is a big ado about nothing. So in my opinion on this is they kind of sliced their own throat. The Democrats did, but they're going to keep trying. Like G said with the Trump, look what Trump trying to do to us. They can't let Epstein go. They're still in the old mentality where they think they can control the media and control the forms of communication. And I think that they're so desperate. I think they thought this would work. Because one more point, and I'll give it to you guys, is remember about a month and a half ago, a couple months now, the big press conference, and they brought all these women up. Oh, or this or that. And then when you dug into them, it's like, well, you were an adult when all this happened. You weren't a kid. So it just fell apart. And without MAGA to push this, I don't think the Democrats have much, because when the Democrats use it as a political weapon, MAGA backs off. All they had to do was let the MAGA influencers keep going at it, but the Democrats had to sit there and try to ramp it up. G, your whole thought on that email specifically, how the Democrats continually lie, and is this much ado about nothing, or do you think there's something there?
No, there's absolutely much ado about nothing, and you can. I mean, you explained it beautifully, so I'm not going to re-explain it. But look, if there was a smoking gun in there, Joe Biden would have released it. They did everything they could to get Trump to not run for president or to basically make him lose his support. If you wanted an October surprise a year ago, this would have been it if it was something, but it was nothing. And Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they know what's in there, and there's nothing in there. So I think this is much ado about nothing. It was all about the Democrats. So most of the Democrats out there, you saw the View giving what's this guy, Fetterman from Pennsylvania, giving him flack for quote unquote caving in. And then I saw a clip of the View, the Latin woman from the View on CNN.
Steny Hoskins?
No, it's the other one. But she basically was saying, this is surprising because the Democrats cave in, and here's why. The Democrats, they have a heart for the poor, and those 8 Democrats or 7 Democrats that crossed over just couldn't see the poor starving. And so they need to become like the rest of us Democrats with a heart of steel. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, right? But she was basically saying Republicans and the rest of us Democrats don't care about people starving because they don't get their food stamp money. So when that collapse happened, I know I'm going off subject here a little bit, but they had to have this come out, right? To kind of take the narrative away from, okay, well, it's really the Democrats who's making everyone starve and everyone jobless for 38 days. It was the Democrats. So, and this whole time they're saying it's the Republicans. Oh, well, here's a great time to release the Epstein thing so we can basically look over here, not here, look over there. And so, I think this is much ado about nothing.
All right, to the audience, to the listeners out there, hey, give us your thoughts. Much ado about nothing. What do you think? Annette, what's your thought process?
I disagree, because you tell me why they released that tape and that they don't show that 1 minute of the tape. Really? You're going to release a tape and you're not going to show that section of time? I think it's not much to do about nothing. I actually think it's very serious, and it has a lot of really big implications. And I think it implicates both parties. And that's why we're having this struggle. They're both trying to politicize it, but I actually think it must be so damning for so many people. And that is why we're on this merry-go-round.
Oh, I don't think the I think the people
That's
on
my
the
thought.
right who are trying to politicize it are the losers, the Massies of the world. You know, which is ironic. 2 weeks after his wife passed away, I saw him at an event. He was looking nice, sharp, thin, no glasses, hair done nice. Turns out, less than 8-10 months later, he's marrying some woman there. I'm like, you know,
And Annette, no, let me backtrack a bit.
Okay.
Or explain myself a little further.
Yeah.
I agree with you. There is a lot with the Epstein thing. I'm just saying specifically Donald Trump and Epstein. There's nothing there, right? That's what I mean.
I agree. It's much ado about nothing coming. Yeah, I know. We got to get some people to, engage us on this, because it's really interesting that it's circling around, because there is something there, William, and people are not stupid. That's the thing. I'm
no,
learning.
you are right.
Thank you. Oh, right.
No, but see, you all need to listen to what I say.
I do listen to what you say.
What did I say? I said the Epstein files have jumped the shark. It doesn't mean it's become a conspiracy. We'll never know the truth.
That's right.
Of course, there's something there. Remember the reports. The FBI or DOJ or whoever went down there. It couldn't have been the FBI, because FBI isn't overseas; it's internal. But maybe they got to Epstein's Island. But American legal people, law enforcement, and supposedly all kinds of video, all kinds of film. Diddy. There's supposedly thousands of hours of video as well that the DOJ said we're not going to release that. Why? So there is something there. I agree. But my point is, this isn't about finding the truth. It's about they should make a movie. Let's get Trump, because that's what it's about. Massey doesn't care about the truth. Massey is gluteus maximus hurt,
Right.
He's just hurt because Trump's going after him. And right now, Massey's not polling well, which I found shocking. I thought he was undefeatable, but I think at the end of the day, there's a report saying that Massey's being funded by George Soros in part. If that's true and that gets out publicly, I think he's done as a candidate long term. But my point is, those are the people. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I've always admired as a fighter. I've never admired her as a politician. I've admired her as a strong woman who's a fighter, but I've never respected her political acumen. And I don't mean I don't care for her or anything. I just always thought she's out there, and I don't know what's the matter with her right now. I'm like with Trump. I think you kind of lost your way. Maybe your head's gotten too big. You're missing some of the obvious cues. And I think every Republican that's on this Epstein thing, I get it. You want the truth. But any Tom, Dick, and Harry, any moron knows this has jumped the shark, and we're never going to get this. All these emails being released, it's no different than the 90,000 JFK documents that were released about 6 months ago. Do we know anything? No, it just muddied up the conspiracy more.
Yeah. You're right. No, William. Okay, good point. You're right.
All right. Any final comments, people?
No.
Agreed.
All right, my friend. So let's get to our main story. Why young Americans are abandoning the GOP, the affordability crisis, socialists are surging, and the Republican Party at crossroads. So why can't the Republican Party connect with young voters? And what's driving this generation further away? Again, you have exploding costs, stagnant wages. I said all of this in the opening. There's also activist campaigns being waged from socialist communist groups. No matter how small they are, they're always active. And then you have university admissions in terms of the cost of getting into college and the debt these kids are enduring over a corrupt system. And then there's a competition in the workplace with the H-1B visas. And we're going to expose some of this. And guys, the reason I brought this topic up, I kind of interweaved it. I had like 3 separate topics, and I was like, you know what? The affordability has kept grinding at me for weeks now since the election. It's always been in the back of the head, but I think Mamdani, we talked about socialism. We talked about the evils of Mamdani, how he's a liar, how he's anti-Semitic. He's an anti-Semite. He's all these things. And that's not us saying it. The documentation is out there. The mainstream media just refuses to cover it, and his followers refuse to see the truth. But the underlying issue is, why are these kids? We always talk about that little white rich kid, how, the parents are funding everything. That's one aspect, But there are millions of kids who are simply can't afford life right now. Before we get into some of the topics I have here, what are your initial thoughts? And take your time, because what are your initial thoughts, not just with affordability, but how H-1B visas are taking not the rare job, but the everyday job. How the cost of colleges is destroying it. 20, 30 years of debt for some of these kids, and then not even a job that they can get after they graduate. So I tried to interweave this. Your initial thoughts. We'll go with G first.
Yeah, I mean, man, I mean, we could go on a whole economic dissertation on this, right? I mean, this is a very complex thing. One thing I could think about is the basic idea of if you make it easier for people to borrow money, of course, everything's going to get more and more expensive, right? You
Right.
make it easier. I mean, I, again, I'm conservative. I'm not necessarily MAGA. I'm conservative. If you do the 50-year mortgage that Trump's talking about, and there's been MAGA and conservative people going, what an idiotic idea. If you do the
Right.
50-year
Right.
mortgage, basically what you're doing is you're exploding the money supply. And now all these people are saying, well, I get a little bit of a reduction in my mortgage. I can now afford a bigger house. They don't go for the same house and say, okay, I'll pay less. They'll go for a bigger house or a house in a better neighborhood. Now you got all these people coming in saying, hey, I just qualified for a 50-year mortgage. And it's going to drive house prices even higher. I mean, that's what happens, right? So when you talk about college loans, right, you make it easier, you defer the cost. Well, now these colleges out there saying, well, just go get a loan. It's only a couple $100K, right? Before it used to be $50K. I mean, back 25 years ago, $50K to go to a good university. Now it's $250K. So you're making it easier for money to slosh around, and then you can pay your professors, give them pay raises, give them pensions, so they retire at 55 and get a full ride until 85, until they die, plus health benefits. So who's paying that? It's the young people. So of course, when you slosh around more money, and that just is my initial thought, but when you throw more money at something, and we saw it with the housing boom in 2005, and now we're seeing it again here with the housing boom as well. The more money, the easier to get a loan, the higher prices go, and it just gets more and more insane. So I think now I will backtrack about 5 years ago. Remember, they were just handing out money, and they increased the money supply by 40%.
Right.
And what
Right.
happened
Oh,
to
yeah,
inflation?
yeah. That's right.
It took a year or two, but inflation jumped up to almost 10%. And everyone has money in their hands, and they're like, oh, well, I got $10. I'm going to spend it. And then the next person now has $10, and they're going to spend it. And
Mhm.
so just by injecting $10, you just put $100 or $200 worth of value in the
Gotcha.
economy. And so it's just insane. So I know this is a very long, brief initial thought, but that's my main thought.
I'm waiting for G to go and vote for G Mangani over here with that topic there. Annette.
I do have the Mondani look, right?
Yeah.
Gee, I agree with you. It's very complex. But I have a little story that I think is related to this. And it happened to me last night. I've been dying to tell you guys. And it is about they're disenfranchised. Last night, Bill and I went to see a movie at the theater in La Jolla. And it was a foreign film. And there were three little, like 80-year-old ladies sitting in front of us. They might have been confused about their seating. I don't know. But a young guy, younger than a millennial, maybe in his 20s, comes up to the little lady who's on the edge, sitting next to her two friends, and says, "This is my seat." An entire theater of people where there's empty seats. It's a foreign film. It's, you know what I'm saying? There is a seat across the aisle open. He made her get up and leave her friends. And then I've got Bill ready to pounce on this guy because he thought it was so rude. The guy didn't care. And Bill's like, hey, you can see the same movie from that seat, or whatever Bill said. I'm like, please don't start a fight right here in the movie theater. I just want to see a movie. But the thing is, he made this little old lady sit away from her friends and sit in this other seat across the aisle. I guess my point is that I loved the movie. I couldn't stop thinking about what happened right in front of me because I thought, who is this guy? And is this a representation of of people today, of people in that age group that would actually make an 80-year-old woman get out of her seat to sit. Something about it. It was a disconnect though, William. It was a not caring about the people that you're around, noticing that she's with her older friends, that, you know what I'm saying? There was something, and I was like, this is not good.
Well, Annette, that extends to this point.
Yes, that's why I brought it up.
No, it extends to the point of, do you want to hire a little mini socialist to just destroy your culture at your job? No. So they can be their own worst enemies too. But let me toss out some numbers here to you guys.
Okay.
In terms of Mamdani and the socialist class is rising. AOC epitomizes socialism perfectly. She's now a multimillionaire who promotes socialism. She was a broke bartender who couldn't make a drink. Now she's a multimillionaire and is leading aspects. She's actually not a decision maker yet for the Democrat Party, but she's rising in power. Ilhan Omar's another one. You know, Mamdani's another one. They've never done anything themselves, and now they're going to make these decisions. But they're promoting socialism. And part of the problem, I believe, is only 24% of high school civics history courses teach the economic failures of communism or socialism. Only 24%. So 75% aren't teaching the history of communism and socialism. 58% of teachers under 40, so that's the millennials, or Gen Z?
I think that's millennials, right?
Millennials,
Okay.
yeah.
So about 60% of millennials who teach are teaching socialism as a viable alternative. And 36% require study of past regime failure. So 6 out of 10 teachers, socialism, that's a viable alternative. So then you go back 50 years, and what the Rockefeller General Education Board, God, I love when I do good research. They promoted that it's not their job to teach critical thinking or to teach individualism. It's their job, and what they want is to teach people how to be lackeys, how to work within society as they're told to work. So, and the Russians, or rather the Soviet Union in the 60s, Misha Brzezinski, I think it was her father, I can't remember, the spy who came over and said, the Russians or the Soviet Union's goal is to destroy you guys from within through your education system. This is undeniable proof of why socialism is growing. Now, I'm not done, people. 53% of the 18 to 25-year-olds rely on parents for living expenses. So over half of the kids 18 to 25 are dependent on their parents. 26 years of age is when kids are starting to leave their home. Just to give you a comparison, I was 17 going on 18. And it's kind of like I knew what was coming. My 2 older sisters at 18, get out. You know, that was the family motto. You are an adult. And 17% of young adults are financially literate. I mean, so in essence, over 80% are not financially literate. And I think part of that process is because they're dependent on their parents. They don't have to manage their own money. Now, before I get to the class disconnect, what are your thoughts on those numbers I've just thrown at you? Annette.
I mean, they're mind-boggling. They don't surprise me at all. I think I saw a study showing that like less young men are going to college than ever before. And like a quarter of them, even in their late 20s, are like living at home. As you just suggested, a lot of people are leaving their homes a lot later and not dating as much and not really socially interacting. And there's, I guess, even there is people aren't like going to bars together as much in those age groups where like people would go to a place to socialize and hang out. That's all actually very disturbing for the future. Do you know what I'm saying? That disconnect socially is also the underpinnings of people being angry. And so what do they want to feel a part of? A revolution. Why not? What else can make you feel more alive?
Right. G, your thoughts on those numbers?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly a lack of. I mean, okay, so these professors, their whole idea is it's their job to promote the ideal society, right? So they want to promote the socialist society where they think the government serves the people, but they don't really teach what actually happens, right? It's the people
Right.
serve the
It's
government.
this philosophy. It's the philosophy, though.
Right.
Sounds nice.
Right. But it sounds nice, right? It's like, okay, well, the government's supposed to be our provider, and that's their default view. Whereas I think most conservatives view the government as our protector, right? They're here for the national defense and to make sure that infrastructure is in place so that we can provide for ourselves. They're not our provider, right? So I wish these professors would teach the idea that socialism teaches you to serve the state, right? Because that's, or the broader society, which basically means the state. Whereas capitalism, basically, you have to serve each other, right? I just had 4 tree trimmers come and give me a quote. They were the nicest, smiling. Oh yeah, I can do that. I can do that. And just let me win the contract, right? I mean, they're willing to serve me, and it's just like, yeah, that's the way it should be, right? You have to serve your fellow man in order to get the dollar, right? You got to
Right.
provide value and you get dollar back. So,
So what are you saying, that the young people, they don't understand that concept?
no, I don't think they do. I think so. Then they're also growing up. Okay, so I'm sure it wasn't Ronald Reagan who originally came up with this, but I'm sure he repeated it. But if you're young and you're not liberal, then you don't have a heart, right? And that's what kids. What's your, if you had one wish? World peace, nobody starve, right? But if you're, the rest of that quote is, but if you're not old and conservative, you don't have a brain, right? Because then you start to realize as you get older, wait a minute, this is not how the world works. Like, okay, people aren't starving because we're not making enough food, or people are, Elon Musk is
Right.
sitting there hoarding a bunch of quarter pounders. No, it's because other people are blocking access or
Right.
taking
Right.
farms away in the
Right.
name of socialism and killing the farm owners, and then putting some guy who, I'm being facetious, but was working at Starbucks saying, "Hey, go make a bunch of soybeans for everyone." And he's like, can I just brew coffee
Right.
instead? Like, and then you're going to have starvation, right? So,
No, and
uh,
they're subjugating us. Then
yeah.
we're all subjugated, and that's the
Right.
thing. Do they just think that that's easier? Is that what it is? What is the appeal? That I agree, William. Like, why are they falling into it? You're saying part of it is this education or lack thereof of
Well,
education.
a lot of it. A lot of
lot
it's
is,
that.
once they're out and they're living in the real world, right? You start to then see how things actually operate, like in a big city like New York. And my daughter, for example, and we do help her, not to the extent that many of her friends are helped. She's looking around and like, oh my God, I need my life to get easier. Oh my gosh, I don't have disposable income. I can't like go travel, mom. I can't like live this
Yeah.
life that she thinks is, that everyone. It's just also is there's that's why, as G said, you really have to. You cannot in any way diminish how complex it really is, because social media plays a part, the life they think they should be getting and they're missing, and how do they achieve that it's all of that, William, plays into
I
it.
guess I disagree. We make it complex because the
But I have
feelings,
kids.
nothing more
More
than
than-
feelings. Look, here's my problem. And I hate it I don't hate it. I love it, but I always worry. Watch your mouth, William, when you bring your daughter up and how you subsidize her. I guarantee you don't give her another dime. She's going to look at her bigger options. Maybe I can't afford to live in New York City. Maybe I got to go to where the jobs are. Or I better learn how to manage my check because mama ain't cutting me a check this month. And hold on, the people they leave home at 26, they're damn adults at 26. They're not kids. 53% of 18 to 25-year-olds rely on parents for living expenses. It's pretty black and white. You look back at history, you look back at any how-to success book, odds are that person was on their own, having to learn the hard way. Now what a parent can do is guide their kids, but what parents do is they keep enabling their kids. We can learn a lot about the animal kingdom here. And what does Mama Bird do? I'm going to stop regurgitating food in my throat for you, little birdie. What's that, Mama? No. Boom. And Mama throws them out of the nest, and they better learn how to fly on their way down. We need more of that. The military can provide that. Trade schools where you learn an actual trade can provide that. But I think the biggest problem is that stat of 53% of 18 to 25-year-olds are relying on mama and papa. And mama and papa can't always provide, but it's what I call too much love. You got to have some tough love. My dad and mom, we love you, but you're 18 and you're on your own. What happened? I partied my way through life, no direction, because my parents should have done a better job in helping to raise me. They were Latin American parents. They came to this country. They just wanted money and support. They didn't understand the importance of education. So they weren't maybe necessarily the best parents, and God bless them. I love them. I'm not saying that as a negative. They didn't know any better. But the greatest gift they gave us was, you're on your own. I partied hard. I lived 3 lives. And then before I settled down, met my wife, got married. And then what did I do? I built a startup and I became a pioneer in the fantasy sports industry. I am an average Joe, but because of my parents, my mother and father throwing me out of the nest, and I learned how, about 2/3 of the way down, I finally learned how to fly. Woo, let me get out of here, But we try to make it more complex because we're humans, because we can critically think because of this, that, everything. You boil it down. Now, let me finish my point here to the next question for you, and we'll start with Annette.
Okay.
So what do parents also do? Oh, my child, they're so beautiful. I know everybody says it, but my child's really special, especially dumb. No, they're especially arrogant, and they become elitist. 67% of college students say past socialism failed due to poor implementation, not flawed ideas. They think that they know better than anyone else. They think that. Why? Because they're not paying any bills. Mama's cutting the check. How many thousands of dollars do parents put in to find out a semester later after their kids hiding it from them? Yeah, I didn't go to any of those classes, and you paid $2,000 in books for nothing. Parents don't check in on their kids. They don't grow up, and conservative parents are the worst. I've told you all this tale over and over. I know conservative parents. I don't understand what happened to my kid. I go, well, then cut them off. I can't do that. Well, then you're helping your kid become a socialist. So and 72% of students say working class opposition to socialism comes from misinformation. So what these kids are saying is 67% say, oh, socialism didn't work because it just wasn't done right. And then 72% of them say, you, Mr. Working Class Joe, you're just too stupid to understand what socialism is. So not only are they on the teat of their parents, they think they're smarter than everybody. And then I want to go to you for that, because you say it's complex, and I just don't see it as complex. How do you rationalize these numbers away?
Okay, I honestly don't think, though, William, they're absolutely wrong in saying that. I don't think socialism has been implemented as well as it could be, potentially. I don't. I think what's happened, because really in theory...
Okay, stop. Where has it failed? I can't let you get past that point. How has socialism not been implemented properly? It's easy to say that. Tell us why.
Let me just say something. What I wanted to say was, I guess more of a communist look at things, right? For each according to their ability and each according to their need, that sort of idea of people sharing and helping and all of those things, then there wouldn't be that very, very wealthy and everybody else so suppressed. So I don't think the philosophy is ever matched up to how it's actually played out. I don't think so.
You're right. I agree with you. Absolutely correct. The philosophy has never played out. Why?
Well, I guess that's a really good question. That'd be the question I would be asking you, and that's why I'm saying they're not.
And I have the answer, but go on.
Well, I'm excited because I don't think that they're absolutely wrong for saying that. So do you see my point?
No, see, that's my issue with libertarians. It's the philosophy. Yeah, on paper, goblin. It sounds all nice and purdy, but there's something called free will that God gave us. I was just reading up on this about Satan, and if God knew everything about what Satan would use, I'm like, why doesn't God just destroy Satan? And then and free will kept coming up. And that's the problem with humanity. We have free will and human nature. And people only want to look at one aspect of human nature, the goodness in all of us, where I am more, what's the word for I'm
inclined?
More realistic. No, I'm more realistic. Yeah, I'm inclined to look at the truth, and that's to study history. And that's why socialism has never worked, because of the corruption. What is true Power corrupts, and it corrupts absolutely. And that is why socialism will never work. And that is why communism will never work. You know why?
You could
Because those
say
people
that
in
is
power,
because
do you
capitalism-
think Mamdani's ever going to want to let go of power? No, he's going to be looking at a senator, AOC. They're going to be looking, and AOC is a great example. Bernie Sanders is a great example of socialism. How, millionaires and billionaires, they're all bad. What's
You
Bernie's
think
favorite
that
mantra
Trump
now?
would want to give up power either? I don't think any leaders like to give up power on any side.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
point. That's the whole point. That's human nature.
Okay.
So
fair
those
enough.
who profess socialism, they're lying to you because they're the ones who will benefit while you work your tail off. And here's the problem. On paper, it looks great. We all share. Eventually, you get 30 people at a job site. Yeah, socialism, we're all working equally, Then human nature sets in. Oh, man, I had a hard night of drinking. I'm not going to work too hard. You don't work. Nobody says anything. Yeah, I'm not going to work anymore. Next thing you know, instead of 30 people, there's 25. Then there's 20. And then the 20 that are working hard are looking at the 10 that aren't going, well, why am I working hard? And boom, socialism falls apart. So theoretically, philosophically, ideologically, whatever term you want to give it, sure, communism and socialism and libertarianism on paper look phenomenal.
Yep.
They are not feasible because of human nature. See, what you need to understand, and then we go back and forth, and I love this. Is you look at the innate goodness of everybody. And I'm sorry, I look at the reality of human nature. And history has proven me right, because that's how human nature works. Power corrupts, it corrupts absolutely. And bad people know how to take advantage of good people. Gee, your thoughts.
So my thought is socialism will work one day when Jesus comes back. We're all in heaven, right? And that world will be good. And I think then we're not going to be fighting over resources and all that. But William is absolutely right. The late, great Rush Limbaugh, always, every Thanksgiving, and it's right around Thanksgiving. And
oh, that's right.
I will do a short, right? Maybe it can be 3 minutes short, but I will read the late, great Rush Limbaugh's thing that he read every Thanksgiving. And it is a real story of Thanksgiving where I believe it was William Bradford. The reason why they had a famine the first year is because he had all of his, I think it was 100 some odd settlers say, okay, each of you guys need to equally work hard. We put it all in the central granary or whatever, and we're all going to share equally. And this was before Marx, right? This is a couple hundred years before Marx. And they had a famine because of what William was saying. Some of those guys are like, man, some of that mead and ale that I drank last night really hit my head.
Wrong, yeah.
Can you guys do more of the digging this today? And I just can't. I'm going to sleep in. And people were slacking off. But the next year, when William Bradford basically said, okay, well, wait a minute. This is your plot of land. And whatever you make, you get to eat, and you can contribute to the collective if you want. But what you make is what you eat. All of a sudden, they had a harvest. And I think the Indians came in and around that time as well and said, hey, here's a better way to plant things. But then they had a huge harvest the next year. So it's absolutely right. If you have self-interest, then you're going to make sure you are set. But if I have to take care of you and you and you and you and you and you and you, and it's like you get overwhelmed and you're like, well, I really don't want to put in the effort because that guy's not putting in the effort. And then The other part of that whole sinful nature is some guy gets in there and goes, wait a minute, all I have to do is create a law and I can collect more from the top than everyone else. And then I can live comfortably, which is what happened in every single nation out there. And look, India, when they created their constitution in 1947, the first line says, okay, well, socialism is the way to do things. And they had 40% poverty in the year 2000. And then they went to a free market economy or towards that. And now the poverty line basically went down by half. So it's like 20%. So, you just look at it over and over and over again. Socialism just doesn't work unless you have Jesus at the helm. Then you have a great shot at it.
Good point.
And in India, so because I watch a lot of Indian films, I find myself reading some articles about movies and why they can't get going or something. A lot of the entertainment industry in Bollywood or India, they're politicians also. And a lot of them are part of the socialist type parties. Why? Because when you make it, see, acting is one of the few industries where you don't have to be great at it. You just have to be the right place, right time, and then be able to sell tickets. So you are great at being able to sell tickets, but they don't understand the working class, or they forget where they come from. And that happens in our own Hollywood as well. But I want to ask you guys a question. How do we change this? How do we take the schools back? But before then, Annette, Nancy Pelosi. I just did a podcast with, her, Roxanne Hogue's
Yes.
husband. Not Roxanne. Roxanne's too big for me now. So she gave me her husband. So he's an associate editor at Red State. And we were just talking about this the other night. So it's corruption. And we brought up Nancy Pelosi, because he was shocked, because I gave Nancy Pelosi her props. She was a strong woman early on, had beliefs, beautiful woman, strong. She epitomized what a strong woman could do. Power absolutely corrupts. She came into Congress worth $600,000 to $700,000, about approximately $700,000. She left Congress worth $250 million. Power corrupts. It doesn't matter when you are. One of the things I prided myself on when I had my little startup, one day something happened, and I sat in my chair. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm God here. Whatever I say goes." These people, and that kind of scared me a little bit, because I'm like, this is a little office. But it happens at every level. But Nancy Pelosi's a great example of that. AOC is a great example of that. She's a multimillionaire. Bernie's a multimillionaire now. So it will never work because of that. So, Annette, how do we win the schools back? How do we because if we taught socialism and how it's failed over and over and over, if we taught them how to critically think, I think that is one of the ways to start winning back. But how do we do that?
It wouldn't be as attractive, that's for sure, right? If we taught people how to critically think, and like you said, we taught the results of socialism that we've seen time and time again, how it plays out. I mean, you guys gave some really great examples as to why it falters every time, because you're talking about things like, I used to argue with my uncle about this, who I was very close to, he would say there was importance in teaching philosophy along with different religions, but it's just like ways of thinking, because you're bringing up the philosophical ideas behind why people, and also like motivations and just sort of human beings and human nature. And those aren't things we teach very well anymore either, by the way, which are like,
I'm confused in that. What do you mean we brought up philosophical?
I think you're saying that part of the problem that people might not understand, and part of what they're not learning, is what human nature is all about. And that is part of the reason why you say socialism fails every time, because of human beings, and because they're weak, and because they're not always going to give equally, right?
Right. Well, I don't want to say we're weak. We become corrupt. Because corrupt people, they will the AOCs and the Bernies will rationalize away why what they're doing is good.
Workers, though. You're talking about people working.
Oh yeah, the workers.
Splitting it up and dividing it up. Some people will do it, some people will not, and the other people who do it get tired of carrying the weight of the people who don't. That is part. I think part of the problem is we don't teach children anymore about human nature. We don't teach them about philosophy. I do think that sharpens our critical thinking. I do think it gives us a lot of examples from which to talk about these issues and why they will and will not work. I mean, that's part of it. And part of it is also this generation of the phone, the TikTok, and all of the things that they have in front of them all the time by people that are not that educated, that don't know what they're talking about, but somehow they've developed a following, or they have some sort of credibility. I don't know where they get it. Maybe because they're just cute or popular or whatever. But
that's part of it.
But it works though. People believe these people. It's sort of mind-boggling and shocking. But there is something happening though, William, with the younger generation where I'm sorry, I saw it in that man last night. They're just out of touch. It was so bad for me, William, that I said to Bill, where could we go that it's different than this? I don't feel like this is my country.
I have a story to tell you about that in that sense. So, and I think I've told you guys this story, then G will go to you. But before we go, what is the greatest, before we move on, what is the greatest socialist example of failure that we have seen in modern history?
Wait, give me a second.
too many to count.
I
The-
would say
the-
France.
the-
I would say
the-
France.
No, the National Socialist German Workers, better known as the Nazi Party.
Oh, the Democrat Socialists, right?
The National Socialist German Workers. That's what Nazi stood for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but my story is this: I started my startup. I was on the front. I was one of the pioneers with the internet. I would sit there and say my company and hundreds of others. I was probably part of one of the first 10,000, maybe first 20,000, less probably in the top 100,000 in terms of companies that were actually out working out through the internet. About, I don't know, 6-7 years later, I walk out of my office into the main room where all the editors were at, and I'm looking at them. They're up with the phones on the computer with ICQ is what it was called. It was ICQ and AOL. ICQ was bought by AOL. ICQ was an Israel invention. I loved ICQ. Great. But anyway, they're all on there. They were in their mid-20s. I had traveled the world by their age. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, oh my God, these guys have been working for me for years. And I can count on my hand how many of them have had actual dates. I realized technology was destroying the world. For all the good, it was destroying our social skills.
Fabric.
These kids, they had no clue on how to communicate. You know, this is one reason why porn use is astronomically high right now. This is why it's there's a term, I forget what it is, but Tinder is so popular. It's like, it's just gratuitous. They have a need. You have a need. I'm a woman, I have a need. I'm a man, I have a need. There's no relationship building. Technology, what I'm trying to tell you is that kid is a product of a world where social skills are not taught by parents. Remember, when I was a kid, and we were going to an event, I'm dressed up nicely. My mom's telling me, you will do this, you will do that, you will do this. When the adults are talking, you will act this way, you will do that. We were taught social skills. Then when I joined the military, I was taught how to do the fork, the knife properly, just little things. Kids today are not taught squat. Instead, that's what I mean by, little Johnny's down the road. My little girl, she knows everything. Oh, my boy, he's everything. They don't know that's your kid. Your kid's the one there in the theater. No, your kid is the mean girl. And that's no longer the outlier. That's no longer the exception. That's become the norm. That's why 70% think the working class is too stupid. I got the college education in how to pass gas properly in a room, meaning the degree that's going to get you nowhere in life, but they got it. So they view themselves as superior. And my point, though, is what you're seeing to me is a product of technology today. And you want to respond, then we'll go to G.
Wait, yes, I do want to respond because I think you are arguing away from your first point where you said it's not complex. No, it is complex. The social fabric is breaking. That is a problem. The education system is breaking. That is a problem. There are many sort of
those are two black and white situations.
I mean, and the family, the parents are not instilling values. You said that as well. That is also, and I agree with you on that. I've known parents who said to me, you know what? I'll let them decide what religion they want to be. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You instill your values in your children, and then maybe they will decide in part. But isn't it our job as the parents to say, if they knew what the kids knew what they were doing, what am I even doing there?
That's a great point, because somebody say, William, that's complex. How to be a parent, how to do this. No, it's hard, but it's not complex. You instill your values in your kid. My value was my mom grabbing me with the arm, pitch me, wait till we get home.
And you're getting dressed.
Yeah, and I'm getting dressed. I mean, look at me now. Look at me now. But okay, so we're at the hour mark. We only have gotten through 1/3 of this. So next week, I'm going to save this over to next week to talk about the H-1B and affordability. Or maybe we'll do a podcast and we'll release it here in the next day or two, because this is important stuff, because I'm a black and white guy. Annette's a more complex individual, and we don't know what G is because we kind of forced him to be silent this episode after he went on his campaign speech early on. But real quick, though, the affordability crisis. Why? Where's my question at? Financial dependence. Okay, so I think the problem here is, and I want a 30-second answer. I'm going to do 2 or 3 of these questions. Neither one of you guys answered the last question. Maybe G didn't even have a chance to answer it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
I'm sorry.
I had my answer ready.
So I'm going to give you my answer, and you can feed off, agree or disagree, or go from there. I believe we take the schools back with the GOP going back into the school district race battles. If we don't do that, this is going to get worse. That's how we bring those values back in. Conservatism is it's not based off of old things. It's based off of values that work, instilling the values of what is a strong work ethic. You study, you learn about communism, you learn about socialism, you learn how this country was created. You learn that, yes, maybe Columbus did not treat people well. In Panama, he's got a sordid history, Columbus's brother in Panama specifically, but he did discover the new world. You aspire to be a Columbus who is open to taking risk. You teach history, the good and bad. And the Republican Party has to get back into I don't even know if they ever were, but you both are to the audience, us three, we all serve. We know how the Republican Party works. And to a T, I can answer for these guys. We know the Republican Party puts nothing into school board candidates, not a damn dime. They don't support them. They don't give money. And then they wonder why we're at the point we are today. So my take is the Republican Party needs to step up into the fold to start taking back our schools and start instilling some of these values that Annette talked about. G, we'll go to you real quick, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say that, yeah, again, we can't do a national, hey, this is what you're going to teach, because rightfully we did away with we're doing away with the Department of Education. And we saw what the liberals did with that. So we don't want that, right? We just need the local control and good candidates to run to say, look, we're going to teach that the American system, it's not perfect, but it's the best system, because every other system, right? They always say capitalism sucks except for every other system out there, right? So if we teach that idea that, yeah, capitalism, you're going to have inequities and excesses. That's just the nature of it. Better than socialism, where it's at the, basically a gun to your head saying, no, you will give this and you will work here, and this is what you get in return. And that's a sucky system. All
right, Miss Annette.
Yeah, I mean, we have to. G's right. I mean, we've seen what a disaster it is to do it in the national level. So it's got to be locally controlled, the districts, for those particular people who live in that district. I'll tell you what, though, there's nothing more touching that we had a Veterans Day, our little assembly last week, and schools should still be doing that. Schools should be saying the pledge. They should be honoring their veterans. I mean, it's just some of those traditions that I think have been lost. There are school districts in California that I know for a fact do not say the pledge every day. These are the kind of things, and to your point, William, so what is that about? And I don't think that is helpful and cohesive in terms of our nation building and people understanding and being proud of being a patriot and being an American.
Gotcha. No, I agree. Final question before I close the show out. And we're going to talk about this more in depth, but let's do a little bit of a teaser. How does the GOP regain the youth, Annette?
Yeah. How does the GOP
Annette, that was a response like, I wish he had gone first so I could see what he has to say.
No. That was a little bit because like I wasn't. That's a big question. You know what I think, William? I think we need better candidates out there. I do. Talking about the issues that the kids can relate to. We don't have a lot of GOP candidates that are actually speaking to them. Take a look at what we're putting out on the campaign trail, and then come back to me and you tell me if you think that they're touching the minds and the hearts of the younger generation.
Gotcha. G, what can the GOP do?
Yeah, I mean, right now, what Trump needs to do is basically make life a lot more affordable, right? And it's all about supply and demand. And if people are finding it hard to find homes, get the home builders just build their homes, right? And get rid of the regulations and say, look,
there you go.
You got acres and acres and acres of land. Go build some homes. People are out there ready to buy. And so I think that, the youth will look at that and say, and I'm talking, people in their 20s go, wow, I can actually buy a house now. The other part of it is getting control of immigration, right? We want legal immigration, but we want a good flow of people to come in, but not not too many, right? Like we have a shortage of 20 million units of housing, right? And I'm talking specifically about housing because that's what Mamdani talked about in New York
Rent.
City.
Yep. Housing.
We have a shortage of housing, about 20 million units. I believe I'm sorry, maybe it's 5 million units. It's 20, but we had 20 million people here illegally. And that was my example. So if you split them up roughly into families of 4, then you're looking at 5 million units right there. And before someone gets their pennies in the bunch and go, oh, they're not the problem of our housing shortage. Well, wait a minute. They have to live somewhere. They don't live in canyons. They live in whether they rent or own, they're taking up space, and so you have a housing
I get you,
shortage
G.
as
You're
a
talking
result.
messaging. You're talking messaging. We
Yeah,
don't know
so
how to convey the message.
Well, but it's not just the messaging. It's actually produced results. We'll find, I mean, okay, here's the one thing that dropped in price over the last year. Rent. Rent has dropped in price. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the one thing that dropped in price because a lot of people are being deported.
Mhm.
And now you got to fill that with someone else. So you got to
That's right.
drop the price and say, look, somebody's got to rent out my apartment here or my condo. So that they are dropping and you're seeing the results of it. Now, I don't know if that will win the youth over, but results speak more than, yeah, we need candidates. We need great campaign messages. But we all know what we talk about politicians behind closed doors. We go, yeah, they talk a good game, but they never do what they never do what they say. Right.
Right.
So we just need results.
You brought up a great point. I think the reason we lost they was just overwhelmingly went from Mamdani. They're just flat out lying. Again, human nature, and that a kid hears free. Oh, I don't have to pay for this. I have to pay. I'm in. Why? Because they never experienced life and they don't understand that nothing is ever free. Why don't they understand? Because mama and papa paying everything. But my point is, G, you're right. It's you got to talk about rent. You got to talk about and when next we meet again, we're going to talk about the H-1B, how it's been so abused by corporate. I think our problem is the Republican Party has to stand up to the corporate greed, to the BlackRocks buying up all the housing, to the immigration, undercutting wages, the H-1B visa foreign workers. They come in and they take, some of them are entry-level jobs. So they take them even at a cheaper price. So these are jobs that could go to these kids after graduating college. We're going to talk about the school loans and the fact that, well, maybe the government shouldn't be backing a loan for a liberal farts degree, and backing a loan instead to this industry is underrepresented. We will give you a 2% loan here that can be, and they do have these programs where if for a doctor, for example, they will pay your doctor to go to the medical school, but you got to serve like a Peace Corps type setting, go to another country, bring programs like that back. So these kids stop guaranteeing the loans because universities consistently jack the prices up. Those are the things like I'm just extending on what you said. We're going to talk about that because I do want to talk about that because this scared me, that past election, because it was so black and white. And G, you're correct. We're not talking about it. But in defense of Trump, phase one, it was the tariffs. G and I talked about this. He had to get that in place. Then you got to wait. It's a bit of a waiting game. Then his phase two was foreign policy. And his phase 3 will be the economy because the tariffs are starting to work. Companies are starting to go over. So I'm giving Trump the benefit of the doubt, but it's still scary. That election was scary. And the data I found makes it even more scary because if we don't stop this as a party and start battling back, it doesn't matter what we say, what we do, what we galvanize. The schools will indoctrinate and their mindset will be done. And until socialism actually fails, which can take generations, as history has shown, we could be entering the immediate decline of our nation. And that is not good for the world. For the world to function properly, you need a strong America. And I don't care if that sounds arrogant. Because that's what needs to happen. It's kind of like Marco Rubio today on a side note. Europe says, that's Trump's breaking international law. He's murdering these traffickers there. And Rubio's like, who the hell are you guys telling us what international law is? And now you want our weapons and you want us to defend you, but you're dictating to us what's right or wrong. Get the hell out of here. The world's out of place right now. Ingrates are everywhere, from nations to individuals to kids to the adults in the room. not reading the room properly, as in the Republicans with the youth, to even parents and their kids with, son, I love you, but the army looks pretty good.
But wait, William, really quickly, please respond. But I'm going to make it so fast. But my daughter says something to your point about corporate greed. She's like, Mom, capitalism is so greedy. And I said, so is socialism, but for less people.
Well, no. This is how you answer her. You're right, honey. You're right. Capitalism is greed, but that's called cronyism, corrupt capitalism. But honey, tell me any other form of economic or any form of government that is able to make that poor man a billionaire as fast and within less than a generation than America. Socialism can't, communism can't. So yes, let's play the fact, as Milton Friedman said, let's say that capitalism is not good. What's better? Nothing yet that we figured out.
Okay, I'm going to use that. I'm using that.
Yeah, use it.
Here's another thing, just to piggyback on that. And it was this is 20 years old, but I'm sure it's still true today. But the top 10 richest people in Europe all inherited.
Yeah.
I think 9 out of 10 inherited their wealth. But here in America, I think it was 1 out of 10 inherited their wealth. The other 9 out of the top 10 richest people in America made their wealth.
And right now, Europe, there was a few months ago when we were talking about Europe and Ukraine and all that, and deals with China, all this. Europe has not produced anything of note for over 40 years. They have not contributed to the world in over 40 years. They've been takers for over 40 years. They're not doing anything to better themselves as a nation and as people. They're just there. And with that, my friends, I'm going to talk to the guys after the show, see if we can set up another podcast in the next day or two, and we'll upload it to continue this conversation. But this is something all of you need to think about. All of you need to look at your children and understand that you love them, but you understand what the real world is. You got to look at what the schools are teaching. Y'all have to get involved. And to you political aficionados, get involved in your local race. Everybody wants to work on the Senate, the governor, the president race. I did, but I also wanted to work at a couple of small campaigns. I even led a small campaign. My candidate won, or lost rather, but not as badly as the other candidate that the county was pulling for. The Republican county was really uplifting and helping with the fundraising. So you can make a difference. Do not forget to give us a thumbs up, to like and share this podcast. Do not forget to bookmark grumblingsmedia.com. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, Pandora. There's one more, I forget. Apple, Spotify, Pandora. Damn, there's one more, I forget. But you can find us under the handle Grumblings Media. For the G-Man and the beautiful Miss Annette Ross, I am William Del Pilar. This has been Fired Up, your social conservative talk, and we will talk soon.